Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Destina. This is Spiritually Bougie Astrology, and we are going to be looking at the astrological weather that is tied to the new moon in Aries. This is one of two new moons, and the second one is going to be an eclipse, but an out of sign eclipse. And the reason it'll be an out of sign of eclipse is because the North Node is still very much in Taurus. So we're looking at two sets of new moons that are bringing in one particular energy. This first one is not an eclipse, but it'll be our last new moon before we go into eclipse season. And a lot of the energy tied to this new moon will launch the energy that'll go into eclipse season. And that's why I said in the week ahead forecast that this particular new moon has a lot of energy that's going to be tied to the next few months, as well as the rest of the year. And the reason I keep saying the rest of the year is because of Saturn and everything that Saturn is doing in Pisces. Saturn rules time. Therefore, everything that's gone on since Saturn has went into Pisces tells us that it's going to be things that we're dealing with all through the year, because Saturn is going to be going over its shadow all through Pisces. So I'm not going to say a whole lot about Saturn. I'm just saying, like, a lot of the energy right now is going to be launching us through the next few months, but it is these next few months that will launch the rest of the year. So a lot of where we have been at getting closer to this timeline has really been feeling like an anticipation, feeling like we're getting ready for something, feeling like we're about to go into the race. I actually mentioned this in the last podcast. Like, a lot of the energy going into this week has been feeling very much like a racehorse that's waiting for the gun to shoot, waiting for the gates to open, and waiting for the race to start. As we get deeper into Aries season, we're going to feel the race. We're going to feel the track. We're going to feel the mud, and it's going to pick up pace from here. Going from very slow, dreamy, ethereal Pisces into hot, Martian-ruled Aries, very, very different energies. And you can always tell the difference between Pisces season and Aries season because it is takeoff. It is a boom. This is a new moon in Aries. New moons usually mean new beginnings, taking something to the next level, really bringing something to the surface. Something that you've been working on has the ability to now build a plateau, build a new platform. I'm not saying plateau in the negative sense. Some people will feel the negative sense, but getting to a new level, bringing things to a new level. And a lot of where we're going is going to take a lot of initiative on our parts. Some people are going to be having these new things and these new energies and this new way of doing things pushed upon them from another. Others are going to be so sick and tired of everyone else not necessarily doing what they're supposed to be doing. And it's going to be grabbing the bull by the horns, no pun intended, not Taurus pun intended, but grabbing the bull by the horns and be like, I'm just tired. I'm tired of it. Everyone else that can't necessarily do the things that they're saying they're going to do. And I'm just going to take control of the situation. And certain efforts are going to be made. Now, some of those things that are going to happen and certain adjustments and initiatives that are going to be taken are going to be taken as a result of other people's actions or inaction that has pushed us into this area. And it really kind of comes down to how you're feeling in the situation, how you're feeling about the present, how you're feeling about your karma. There will be some people that feel like the only reason I'm dealing with this right now is because so-and-so made me do it. Whoever so-and-so is. Mom made me do it. Sometimes it's going to be more along the lines of like, I'm just tired of nobody else knowing what the F they're doing, and I'm just going to do it. Because at least then I know what's going to be done right, or right enough to my standard or your standard, depending on the situation at hand. I have a high standard on certain things, and I have no qualms with saying it. I have a high standard because I am usually the one doing it. That's the best way to look at it. I have Saturn in the first. I'm very Saturnian sometimes. But anyways, we are at the gate. We are waiting for the buzzer. We are waiting for the sound. We are waiting for the ability to finally push forward with something. And a lot of this lunar month, new moon to new moon, is going to be exactly that. Pushing forward, hitting the gate, hitting the ground, and getting moving somewhere. There is a lot of action. There is a lot of reaction. There's a lot of motion coming, as opposed to being stuck in a rut. We're now going to be pushed out of our ruts in some way. And others, we're just sick of the rut anyways, and we're the ones at the gate. Some of us are the jockey, waiting for the gate still and trying to push other people into the race. Now, I know sometimes you hear jockey and you're thinking controlling. Not necessarily. The jockeys are there to keep the horse steady in one way. They don't have nearly the control as you think once that racehorse hits its actual race mentality. A lot of times it's just kind of guiding and sometimes pushing that pace forward, like faster, or sometimes it's getting it to slow down. But it really is going to come down to the energy at play and a lot of where we're at in the atmosphere and a lot of where we're at in the environment and a lot of where we're at in just the collective as a whole. More and more people have been awakening. More and more people are starting to make new efforts and starting to go into this whole different direction. And more people are needing guidance. And that's why there has been this influx in the last few years of just like readers and people actually just coming out and coaching and taking people to that next level because it's a necessary step. There can only be so many students in the classroom before the students fall behind. The teacher can only focus on so many people at a time before the students fall behind. So there is this shift and there's adjustment and this great initiative within the awakening that is transforming multiple areas of our lives and multiple areas of the collective. And this new moon feeds into a lot of that. It's not just the new moon, but it's also the things that are going to follow the new moon. The two planetary changes that follow. One that is bigger than the other because of its longevity and where it's going to go and how it stands for generations. The other is because we've all been in a funk waiting for something to shift in the narrative. And that's going to be the narrative shift. Now, the one that's technically bigger that not all of us are going to feel directly is Pluto. Pluto and its changing signs. It's going into Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign of people. Uranus is the modern ruler. Saturn is the traditional ruler. We're not necessarily talking about the rulers. We're talking about the actual sign itself. Aquarius is people. It is the masses. It is humanitarianism. It is the network. It is your colleagues. It is the group. Pluto is the planet of transformation. There is going to be transformation among people. The first ones that were necessary to teach awoke first following the great conjunction that happened in December 2020. Now we're starting to see more of the collective and more people waking up to what is necessary, to needing the coaching, to needing the guidance. And you're going to start to see true teachers that actually have knowledge and have information that is going to be helpful to the masses are going to start to come to the surface. They have no choice. We have no choice. We have been told energetically by our guides, by our ancestors, whoever you connect with, that we have been told it's time to do this other thing. And we've had to take different initiatives. Now you're seeing the result for a lot of these people and their initiatives. And a lot of that has been going through since the beginning of 2023. Now we're going to start to see how other people take the message, take the lessons, and transform with new knowledge, with new teachers. This is not going to be an overnight shift. Pluto is a generational planet. It spends anywhere between 15 and 24 years in a sign, and it kind of depends on the sign we're talking about. In this particular case, Pluto is going to spend between 22 and 23 years in Aquarius. We're going to have some retrograde dips in and out. That's why I'm saying it that way. I I haven't actually sat down and mathematically calculated all of the dates of the dips back into Capricorn or the future dips into Pisces 2 decades from now. I just haven't felt the need to do that. I just know where we're at and how that's going to usher things forward, how that's going to move things forward. The other thing Aquarius represents is technology. And in the last few years, while Saturn and Jupiter and everything else was going through Aquarius, we had the first really good upticks in technology. Chat GPT was not a thing you said a year ago, but now you can hear it on the news every single day. AI, technology shifts, we're going to see that, and that's going to have both good and bad emphasis for us in the long haul. More and more, we're going to see technology take the place of workers. And you're going to see that more and more individuals, to be able to sustain, to be able to grow, to be able to profit, to be able to do well in life, have to take initiative and take control of the narrative. And they're going to have to take that narrative, that control over their personal life and their personal bubble and what they're doing. And we're going to start to really see this huge shift in the collective, separating people more from corporations and from greed and from government and from power. And we're going to see huge shifts in this area. And the best way for those levels of connection to happen is going to be through technology. And that's how many readers have already been able to wake up and come to pass. Pluto going into Aquarius is really going to herald the shift in the collective, the shift that has already started, that has already been going through. And now Pluto is going to really drag it. And there's going to be people that are going to respond with fear because people don't like change. Not all of us have really awesome mutable placements. They're like, oh, new stuff. Yay. I like shiny. Nah, sometimes shiny. My girlfriends tend to like shiny more than me. Muddy? I'm a muddy person. I get to get my hands dirty? Yes, let's do that. Let's totally do that. But then there's other people, you hear the word change, and that's a cuss word. It is a dirty word. Like, no, change. Guess what, babies? Change is coming. Whether you like it or not, change is coming. You don't get a choice. I don't get a choice. I'm just the weatherman. I'm letting you know the things that are coming through. The more noticeable adjustment that we're going to feel is going to be Mars. Now, we are talking about a new moon, which will lead to eclipse season. And the next set of eclipses are going to be very martial. And I'll do another video on this that'll be more focused on the eclipses. And I'll do that as we get closer to that timeline. But whenever you look at it, you have to pay attention to the host of the sign and his condition or hers in regards to the transit. Right now, Mars is still in Gemini, but Mars is leaving a square to Neptune. He's just had a retrograde. It's like the worst hangover ever. And then like going back into that final square with Neptune and the sun and Mercury and that whole Pisces shit show that it was, because it was a shit show. It was. So it's like you had the bad experience, you had the bad trip, you had the bad hangover, whatever you did, and then you were trying to drink your Gatorade, your Powerade, whatever you drink to get your senses back up, and you're trying to function again. And right as Mars re-entered that square to Neptune and everything else, it's like getting those familiar smells again, the ones that you were enjoying the night before, or you were drinking the night before. And then once you smell them again, you're like, The last 2 weeks of Mars getting closer to that square with Neptune and then actually being in it and being in that square with the sun and being in that square with Mercury, it brought up a lot of things. It brought up things that we had already dealt with, but now it was more in the closeout standpoint. And these next few days of Mars ending its trip through Gemini, we'll do some more closeout. And then whenever Mars goes into Cancer, it's going to instigate an area that needs to be built, nurtured. I said this once before. I love Mars in Cancer, because Cancer is it's the mother. It represents it's represented by the moon. It represents home and hearth. But we all forget there's a process for a home, and it needs to be built. Mars in Cancer is builder. It is building. It is putting disruption that's necessary and pivotal. You can't keep growing your family in the same space. If you have a small 2-bedroom house, well, ideally, we don't have a 10-person family in the small 2-bedroom house. We start to renovate. We start to upgrade. We start to change. And we make very critical, necessary adjustments. And Mars's trip through Cancer is going to instigate that through these moon cycles, through both that new moon that we're having today, the next one that we'll have, that will be an out of sign eclipse. I can't talk now. And then the following, the full moon eclipse, will be in Scorpio, which is still a Mars ruled sign. So of the next 4 moon cycles, the next 4 of them, 3 are ruled by Mars. 3. This new moon, the next new moon, we'll have a Libra full moon in the middle. That's the one that's going to be ruled by Venus. So it goes Mars, Venus, Mars, Mars. The second one will have Pluto too. Pluto's the modern ruler, Scorpio. So we're seeing martial, driven, desirable, highly focused, necessary changes coming. Things have been announced. Things have been decided. Things have been communicated. People finally used their words a little bit. We might not have liked their words. Mercury is in Aries now. It is pop-off season. I heard my chiropractor pop off today. I was like, wow, you're like super Venusian. And you don't usually do that. But I think it's funny whenever you do. I've already seen this energy of like feeling the need to just pop off or put somebody in their place. And we've had a lot of that. As that continues, a lot of the popping off needs to be a lot more constructive, needs to be and will be 2 different things. More and more of it should turn into constructive, but the first little lingering there, it's not going to feel so constructive. I feel like once Mercury goes into Taurus, it will get a lot better, but we need to move certain things forward. There needs to be progression, and the next steps that we take need to be very matter of fact. As impulsive as Aries tends to be, Mars in Cancer is not as impulsive. It's careful. It's considerate. You can't nurture something and be impulsive. These things don't go together. Considerations must be had. So I'm going to go through these. I'm going to go through them by rising sign. So let's pull up the chart, because I'm sure you're going to want to see it. Share screen. Okay. Voila. All right. This is not time accurate. Before I hear somebody, you have the Ascendant currently in Aries. I'm going to start with Aries because, of course, this is a new moon in Aries. But I also still have Pluto on the screen, and I have Mars on the screen because I will talk about how these two are going to correspond following the new moon. Aries, this is a new moon in your first house. And the thing is, so much of the last few weeks, as it was going through Pisces, it was going through your 12th house, so much of the past, little areas kind of triggered through, showing you areas that you needed to work through. Now, Jupiter is the traditional ruler of Pisces, and Jupiter has been in your first. So these areas from the past have had benefit for you. It's fed into something. It's built your ego. Not in the negative sense, but it's built your confidence in a lot of ways. And the thing is like, this will not be the only confidence booster that you're going to have this year, but it has definitely been the first round of it. And it's only been very limited. You just had Jupiter go into this place in December. So we're still in that inkling, those first inklings of building our stamina and building our confidence and having those new things come through who we are and taking new steps. Mars is going into your fourth house of home life, and family. Some of the changes and some of what you have went through is going to start to shift the way that you see this area. And it's going to show you where you need to finish some things out, where you need to line some things out, where you need to do some work. Whether that is a honey-do list or healing because we need to talk to certain people in our family to get over recent events, whether it's recent or true past events, considering Saturn is in your 12th. There is areas that need to be rectified, that need to be addressed, that need to be challenged, whether you're doing the challenging or somebody else is doing the challenging. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying there will be challenges in this area. There will be disruption in this area. If you have stayed in alignment and you have followed the energy well, then the confidence boost of Jupiter in your first is going to start to be felt within your home, felt by your family, felt by these people around you. That too will later change the way that you see masses and the groups, because you're going to see that your small levels of changes or growth or ascension or however you have been can also be something that other people deal with. Good, bad, or ugly, it will be something that other people will deal with. And later on, you can be that person that ends up teaching your lessons. You can be that one that actually guides and helps others in your own martial way. You are Mars ruled. You don't have to be as headstrong with everybody as you think that you do. Now, there are other ways that Mars in your fourth house can play out. There can just be disruptions in the household. That would be like just physical disruptions. It could be purposeful disruptions, like, I'm going to renovate the bathroom. But there can also be things that make you have to shift your focus towards maternal figures, matriarchs, the mothers of your family, and their needs, and doing honey-do lists for them, or putting attention into them, or doing things that help them, considering we are just leaving the full moon in your sixth house and going into your chart ruler, going into the fourth. Be aware of health issues, having to do extra things in regards to their medical and taking them to their nursing or doctor nurse appointments or whatever's necessary. Just be expecting a little bit of disruption, not in the negative sense. A lot of ways it's going to allow for you to address certain things. So again, not in the negative sense, but there's a lot of spiritual growth that is starting for Aries risings. It's a long spiritual growth. It's going to take a couple years before you really feel the full effects of it. But we're starting it this year. Definitely within this new moon, definitely within the next few eclipse cycles that are going to come through, because they're all going to be Venusian and Martial ruled. So this is the beginning. This is you, Mr. Racehorse, Mrs. Racehorse, making shifts for yourself that's going to be beneficial and impact your family. And it's also going to be very impactful with the way that you see the world and the way you see society. Okay. Moving along. Taurus and Taurus Rising. Oh, my Taurus babies, I love you so much. There's a lot of things from the past that need to be closed out. There's a lot of things that have been done during that Saturn-Uranus square over the last few years, while we've been dealing with things that have gone through all since the eclipse cycle and since that Mars retrograde. But there's been a lot of adjustments in your values and in your person. And a lot of it is made you realize just how much you have been relying on other people. And the idea of breaking away from certain people or making certain adjustments in your public image, making certain adjustments in your person and your identity requires letting go just the same. For you to grow into who you're meant to be, that means leaving certain things in the past, letting certain things go, dealing with certain things. And whether you like it or not, there's going to be a lot of things, hidden things that are going to come to the surface. Mercury is in your 12th. The sun is in your 12th. Jupiter is in your 12th. Before you can ascend and have the growth and the shift that you're expecting, there needs to be a shift in the story. Why am I saying it as the story? Because you have told, many of you have told or you have been told a story. And as certain things start to progress, and as certain dots start to get connected, and as the lineup starts to happen, you're going to realize those messages weren't so clear, that they weren't necessarily correct. And where that's really going to come into play is whenever Mars is through its first week, the first week of going through Cancer, and it makes certain trines to Saturn. There will be things from the past or things that have been hidden from you that are going to come to the surface. And the people that are going to bring it to the surface or bring that energy to your attention. So sometimes it's literally like finding something physical or tangible and having that in front of you. And I have found these text messages. I have went through somebody's stuff. Sneakiness. Sometimes it's going to be you going through that internal healing and allowing that true bubbling to the surface. But whether it is a physical thing showing you what's been going on behind your back or an internal thing that needs to bubble up to the surface, understand it's coming. And the results that will follow will reek of you taking on more independence. It's going to pressure you into making shifts, and you will start to feel the need to make those shifts in regards to your family and your job and in your commute and in the way that you talk with certain people. There's a huge adjustment that's going to come through eclipse season, and the way that you connect with other people, whether it's a partnership, whether it's your obligations to clients, whether it's a romantic relationship or anything along those lines, there will be a shift in this area for you moving forward. And these next few months are really going to be about those things that have been hidden, that have not been known, whether it's been your sneakiness or somebody else's sneakiness. Understand, things only stay hidden for so long, and then things come to the surface. All right. For Gemini and for Gemini risings, give me my screen back. Sorry, I talk to inanimate objects all the time. Okay. Gemini. I love you guys. I'm one of you guys. I'm a Gemini sun. That's why I say that. Your connection to people, your friends, your clients, networks. Sometimes you'll end up talking to groups of people, but they're not necessarily your clients. That's why I'm saying the networks. Those are going to shift. They're a necessary shift. The reason there's a necessary shift is because you just had this huge Mars retrograde in your first house. A lot of people might not realize this about the Gemini risings. The fact that, like, in the last few years, you had the Venus retrograde back in 2020 in your first house. That was during the eclipse axis going through your first house. And now you've had this Mars retrograde going through your first house. The one thing I will say about Gemini risings is, like, this is going to, at least after this, you're going to be done with some retrogrades. You're going to be done with the big things in your first house for a while. I don't feel like enough astrologers actually recognize that. But Gemini risings have really gone through a lot of hell. You have. And now you've had this eclipse cycle going through your 12th house. So again, it's had, things from the past bubbling to the surface, and it's made you obtain closure, and it's made you deal with certain things, whether you wanted to or not. You've been forced to deal with them. Mars in this retrograde in your first house has shifted your mindset, and it has changed your way of thinking and in the way you've done things. We're not okay with the chaos as much as we used to be. Gemini risings, we're sick of chaos. As much as we like the healthy amount of mischief, chaos is, we're done with it. And it's time for a break. For that break to happen, we now have to start to have a different shift. Having Saturn have moved into your 10th house of career and public image and your hopes and dreams for the future, you're looking at things differently. You're taking a more serious approach. That is going to start to pan out in other areas of your life. And one of those areas has to do next with your money and with your assets. If you have been doing the things in career and you've made the necessary adjustments while Jupiter was going through your 10th house, then the people that you surround yourself with, or the people that you network with, and people that you're doing business with, your clientele, if you've had a lot of investment energy, then you're really like your tenants. That can be a big thing here too. But we are shifting this area. And the more you tune into your soul tribe and the people that you're surrounding yourself with, the more beneficial it can be for your money. The more you tune in to the wants and desires of other people versus being self-focused, being actually focused on more than just yourself, then you're going to see how that's going to benefit you. Your internal changes while Mars was going through your first house has resulted in a different public recognition. People are seeing you differently. You're attracting people differently. The way that you catch their attention, your energy, all the way around, it has changed. And for many of you, it has changed for the better. And what you're going to see over the course of the next month is that you're going to see who's your people and who's not your people. Who's your tribe? Who can you trust and who can you not trust? Who no longer fits this area? Well, you're spending too much time with everybody else. You're not really talking to me anymore. Well, if you're getting butthurt about it, then there's another problem. What is your problem? Anyone that gets butthurt because you're making changes, that's a them problem. It's not a you problem. Make the adjustments that you need. Don't do any adjustments for anybody that's not paying your bills. Stay focused on that. There can be disruptions in the finances or within the assets, but I don't necessarily feel that so much. I feel like a lot of where those changes are going to be is more like being willing to spend a little bit extra, to do a little bit extra, to enjoy life a little bit more, because God forbid we enjoy life. That was a joke. Enjoy your life. Do what you need to do. Make these changes, make these adjustments, because what you're going to start to realize is that these experiences are going to shape you and shape this lifelong direction and shape where you're going next and shape your experience and shape the way that you connect to your higher calling and your higher self with Pluto going into your ninth. The people that you surround yourself with right now, the people that you're starting to attract, that's very attracted to this shifted, adjusted, grown version of who you are. These are your soul people. This is your soul tribe. This is the right people for you. You're falling into place with that. Allow those good things to come through. Okay. For Cancer and Cancer Rising, babies, you already know what's going on behind your back. You know, because that Mars retrograde was in your 12th house. And the thing about Mars and spending over 8 months in your 12th house with the unknown, the unseen, and endings is that now those that have been for you have really shown who they are. Those that aren't for you have really shown who they're not. But at the same time, we're really starting to feel that adjustment in the way that we commit ourselves to other people. And we're going to no longer fear that if we don't share these obligations with every single individual that comes towards us, because God forbid a Cancer placement not nurture something for somebody else, you're going to become a lot more selective and a lot more purposeful, because you have this huge shift in your career and in your public image that's going to roll through. And a lot of what's happening for the Cancer risings is they're stepping into this place of either taking on new experiences, taking on the idea of more travel, going in new places, going in a new direction, and it's starting to shift your career focus. If you have been in sales for a long time, you're starting to transition more into a training aspect. If you have been the teacher for a very long time, you're starting to shift to where you don't take on students. But there is this huge shift in our career, in our hopes and dreams, in our future. And the thing is Mars rules that. Mars rules your 10th house. That's where the new moon is. That's Aries is in this placement. And the ruler of your career, of this area, is coming into your first house, which means you are literally the one grabbing the bull by the horns. You have the ability to take control of this narrative in ways that you've never taken control before. Most Cancer placements are not known for having huge amounts of control. Some, yes, but usually in certain areas. This is Mars going into your first house. While everything is going in your 10th, this is blessings. This is changing your momentum, changing your drive, changing your mindset, and making it to where you are more likely to express whether something is good for you or not. Whether you're willing to make adjustments for someone or not. Whether they need to make adjustments for you, and if they don't, what the repercussion is. Your fear of your not sticking to certain obligations is going to fall away. And that is going to start to really transform. And so much of you is going to grow and is starting to shift and it's starting to change. And we're getting more and more involved in this whole other area of our life where we're going to start to shine and going to start to do well. And where this area is not an area we initially thought we would go towards. There's been so much experience that you have lived through and dealt with over the last few years that is now all starting to kind of mound together and shape into something. And all of that experience is starting to really make you shine in so many different ways. You are in control of your luck. You have been able to deal with the mistakes. You've been able to deal with letting things go and saying goodbye and being able to just say, this isn't my thing anymore. That's okay. I think more of you need to be told that it is okay to walk away from these things, to take control of this narrative, to take control of where you're going. It's perfectly well and good. You should do it. Use this new moon energy, use the lunar month ahead, knowing that where you're wanting to go in the future, where you're shaping your public image, where you're shaping your work and career, it is you taking shape of it. Grab it. Do what you need to do. All right. For Leos and Leo risings. Oh, goodness. So many of you want to run away right now. And I don't mean run away in the sense of like, I want to run away and I'm never coming back again. I'm not talking about that. I'm really not. I'm saying like, you're done. There has been so much going on at work, so much going on in health, so much going on in partnerships and obligations to other people, so many shifts in family, so many shifts in career. You've already seen so many of your friends show their true colors and let you know exactly who they aren't. That y'all need a break. I know you do. Many of you do. But the thing about Leo risings is that you are the constant flame, the constant energy. And the constant for so many people that it can be very hard for you to take a step back. But the thing is, when Mars goes into your 12th, you're going to have no choice. You're going to hit moments of reservation and pulling away and adjusting and not wanting to be around certain people. You'll feel that vibration shift as people are coming towards you that aren't for you. Certain friends, certain colleagues, certain people, they're going to you're going to feel it. They're going to say something, even if they're not meaning anything initially, being that right now is pop-off season, they're going to say certain things and you're not going to like it. And some of what they're going to say, they're not even realizing just how exactly like the message that's coming through their mouth until afterwards. And some of them are going to have to explain it, or some of them are just going to deal with what just came out of their mouth. You being that constant fire, you have no problem with sharing burns, but you will become a lot more reserved. There needs to be new experiences, and we need to take on new levels of education, whether that is us teaching other people how to take on different responsibilities. God forbid we delegate. You don't have to shine at everything that you do, regardless of what you think. You really don't. But we're starting to shift to where we need to quit taking on so much. And it is exactly what I'm saying. We're going to have to start to take on delegating something, train certain people to do new things, put more emphasis on allowing new things to come through, taking on new education ourselves. We have been desiring so much for new levels of independence. Leo placements, especially with Uranus in your 10th house, Leo risings, you crave independence and being more independent and doing more things for yourself. For you to get where you're wanting to go, we have to take on new experiences and new education. Many of you have not been able to do that because of all of your obligations to everyone and everything else. It's time to put more focus on what you need to do. And that's going to mean taking the step back. So whether it is pop-off season, pushing more people into pissing you off and making you take the step back, or just recognizing the red flags as they pop up and then just saying, okay, I need to take the step back. It's going to be necessary. For you to be the constant flame that you are on occasion, you have to quit sharing your flame and just focus on what's good for you, where you need to release, where you need to heal. Because when Pluto goes into Aquarius, the way that you see obligations, the way that you see certain connections, the way that you see certain relationships, the way that you see and deal with certain legal matters, it has no point but transforming. All of it is going to shift. Pluto is going to make it shift. The way that you have seen partnership, it is going to change. The way that you have seen certain obligations is going to change because you are going to change. You're not just going to change through this new moon. You're not just going to change because of Pluto, and you're not just going to change because of Mars. You're going to be changing over the course of the next 6 months in more ways than I can even describe right now. You are going towards a level up energy, but before you can level up, you got to take a step back. And parts of this energy is going to make you take that step back. If you put more focus in where you're needing to travel, run away to, what you need to learn, or what you need to teach, it'll make this easy, this whole timeline and this energy a lot easier to get through. However, if you try to continue to be your normal full burn self, you will burn yourself out and you will be forced to take the step back. I'm telling you, as you feel the energy releasing from you, voluntarily take the step back. Don't fall into the forced. If you can avoid it, don't fall into it. Okay. For Virgo and Virgo risings, Miss Independent. That's all. Whenever I was like meditating and I was like writing my notes for you guys, I kept hearing Destiny's Child, Miss Independent in my head. I swear to God. So many of you with that Mars retrograde in your 10th house of career and in your public image and everything else, your trajectory is shifting and it's taking a very serious note. Now, Mars rules your 8th house of debt, taxes, other people's money. For it to become your money, people have to pay you, shared obligations and things like that. And we're making adjustments here. We're making adjustments from our career. And there's been one way of thinking and one way of doing things for so long that it doesn't make sense anymore. And a lot of you have already made your adjustments, and much of you has made it to be more independent. You've made these adjustments in your career. You've taken on new challenges. You're taking on a new initiative. You're taking on a new way of doing things. This new moon is in your 8th house of other people's money. So there's ways to make money. And how are you going to be making money? Through your people, through your network, through the groups, because Mars is going to go into your 11th house of friends. Now, is everybody going to agree with the new initiatives that you're taking? No. Are they supposed to? No. Not everybody is going to agree with it. That's fine. It's not about them, so to speak, unless we're selling products. But even then, it's still not about one individual. It's going to be about the way a lot of people see it. A lot of people respond to your actions, to your change, and whether this change is going to lead to more chaotic things or pivotal things. That all kind of comes down to our choices and our karma. But Pluto going into your 6th house of routine is going to show you that as you transform this area, as you build this area, it can be your strength. If you don't put the right emphasis in your routine and in your product and the way that you care for people and the way that you offer services, if you don't put the right emphasis in this area, then what will happen later is there will be not so good results. Things won't work out. And you're either going to have to double back and do it again, or it's not going to work out altogether. And then your whole trajectory and plan will end up having to change. Be mindful in your words. Be mindful in your steps. You are doing wonderful things in regards to gaining your independence, gaining independence in ways that you have needed for a long time. But you got to remember you're Mercury ruled. And if there's anyone that can cut somebody else with words, it's Mercury ruled individuals. I'm a Gemini sun, Gemini Mercury. I have that, but you guys are truly ruled by Mercury. Your chart ruler is in Aries. The way that you speak to people, you can cut people with your words. So be mindful of that as you continue. I'm not saying that you're not going to do well. Some of you are going to do fantastic in this energy because you have the right thing in front of you. You have the right tools. You have the right luck and charm. You've had so many things that you've been able to put emphasis in there. But the way that you connect with people, if you are not mindful in your actions, then shit will come back to bite you later. Be mindful, be purposeful, be careful. Understand that these next few weeks have the ability to build an entire infrastructure for you. And it has the ability to completely reshape the way that you make money and deal with money over the course of the entire next year. But we don't get everything instantaneously. Be mindful in your words. Of any sign that I'm going to talk to today, I'm saying it to you guys. Be mindful of your words. Okay. For Libra and Libra risings. My loves. Certain conversations, certain obligations, certain interactions with other people have really kind of shifted your perspective. And whether that's a good perspective shift or a negative perspective shift, that's kind of hit and miss. For some people, it's good. For some people, you're getting you're getting bad advice. It doesn't matter how I say that. The thing is like what's been weighing on you has been fears that your family will not be a certain way, that your idea of love and the way that you want to see children, that they're not going to go a certain way. And the thing is, these are fears that can be overcome. Pluto represents fear. Pluto represents corruption. Pluto represents death, but Pluto also represents transformation and change. It is very much a phoenix energy. And the way Pluto goes into Aquarius will have a very keen transformation for many people over the next few years, that are going to be very different than what Saturn was like whenever it was going through Aquarius. You either have the ability to overcome fears with this area of life, or you are going to be grabbed and sunk by them. But much of the way the next lunar month is going to take course is not going to be taking course based off your actions. You, having Venus going through Taurus right now, going through its domicile, which is your 8th house of other people's money, you can see the need for change. But as you are starting to approach this area, as you are starting to do things in this area, you will be met with resistance. And being Venus ruled, you're not used to resistance. Much of the way the next few weeks are going to go are going to be very much based off of somebody else and their actions and their reaction and the things that they have done in the past or they're about to do now that is going to make you start to rethink your current career, your current way of making money, your current obligations, your public image and the way that you're seen in the world. It's going to start to adjust. Whether you like it or not, it's going to start to adjust. And there will be a lot of career shifts for Libra risings in the next year. But part of that energy, the seed that's planted to make that adjustment happen, that's kind of this week. That's kind of this lunar month, this new moon this week, and the things that are going to kind of play out going into eclipse season is going to make you want to make adjustments. Now, if this is not just based off of like a business partner, this could be based off of the actions of a romantic partner. That if somebody wants to play stupid games, they can win stupid prizes. And then we start to rethink our course based off them and their stupid games and stupid prizes. So understand much of how the next few weeks are going to play out for you are more focused on the energy tied to other people. It's going to be a little bit slower. I feel like where a lot of the Libra risings are going to make adjustments, it's actually going to come closer to that Venusian full moon, that one Venus moon cycle thing that we have coming up. And that's going to be the full moon that's going to happen in Libra. Isn't that Easter? I think that's Easter weekend, or if it's actually on Easter. But it's in April. So I feel like most Libra risings will get closer to making adjustments or wanting to make adjustments or finally deciding to make adjustments closer to the Libra full moon, more so than right now. Right now is going to be more along the lines of learning from certain experiences as of recent and seeing how other people's decisions are going to start to play out and how they start to affect you. Whether it's affecting you in a good way or a bad way, a lot of the next few weeks' energy is tied to other people, more so than yourself. Okay. For Scorpio and Scorpio risings, we've had the South Node in our first house, and we've made so many changes. Changes in our physical habits, changes in our ego, changes in our mindset and in our way of thinking, that what's starting to happen is it's pushing us to start new areas of life, new things in our work, new things in our routine. We have been approaching much of the last year in a very selfless energy that has not truly been recognized by a lot of people. Having the South Node go through Scorpio, it is an alignment energy for a lot. And if you don't have Scorpio placements or you're not used to this energy, you don't understand it. And a lot of people just don't understand what they're going through. Scorpio risings have been able to let certain things go, let certain controls go. We're letting a lot more things play out. We're just kind of realizing what's important to us and what's not. And the thing is this is a new moon in our 6th house of service, of health, of care, how we care for ourselves, how we care for other people, pets and livestock, things like this. As Pluto is going into our 4th house of home life, and family. What we're going to start to experience over the next few weeks into the next few months is going to shift our focus of the future. Now, some people are already in tune with this and they're already starting to fall into the adjustments and they're taking different steps forward. Others have been very, very resistant. They've been resistant to our changes. They've been resistant to our desires or our wants or the way that we can see things can change moving forward. But the thing is, they can resist all they want to, but eventually they're going to have to submit. They're going to fall into the adjustment. Scorpio risings have been very, very quiet in how they're pushing things forward. They've had to be reserved. The South Node has made it so. While Saturn has been going through Aquarius, more and more Scorpio risings were going into a more reclusive zone where they only wanted to focus on home. They only wanted to be in their family, with their family. They only wanted this one area. And some of them, they have had no choice but to see their family adjust and their family grow. Pluto is going into the 4th house of home, home life, and family. The way that you see families, the way that you see mothers and motherhood, the way that you see matriarchy, it's all shifting and it's all changing. It's making the first steps. The way that you see your home life is about to change. The way that you have been able to do certain things in your career, they're about to change. Whether they're changes that you have instigated or changes that you're inheriting from somebody else's instigation, that's kind of hit and miss. But there is a huge adjustment here in the way that you care for yourself and the way you care for other people. That is the bigger part of the shift. If the shift is being done around you and it's not by your choice, then you're going to start to feel the vibration of not being in the right place. So if you're seeing those adjustments around you and you can't tune in, then that is the universe telling you this isn't for you anymore. And then you need to make steps over the next lunar month to adjust how you're caring for yourself. If you are in alignment, then the steps of this next month are showing you how to care for others and the routine that is necessary to do that. So much adjustment is coming once Jupiter goes into Taurus. So much is going to adjust in regards to our hopes and dreams for the future, in our public image, and in our career later this year with a Venus retrograde. This is our chart ruler that has gone through this house of transformation, going through that 8th house, that is going to finally go into the 9th. And we are going to either be the teachers for a lot of people, or we are going to be the students. But no matter what, there's going to be new experiences coming through, new areas of life that need to be focused on, and new ways of doing things. And for most Scorpio risings, we are the instigator. But we have been a very quiet instigator until it was time for things to be more vocal. Now see the change coming through. Now see the adjustments, and now see where work needs to be done, where new routines need to be built, where new ways of caring for others needs to happen. If you, again, are in that area where you're seeing the new things start and the new process and the new transaction and the new connections, and you aren't with it and you can just feel that vibration saying, this isn't for me, then you need to listen to that and realize what you're doing isn't for you, and figure out over the course of the next lunar month what would be for you and start making the adjustments. Okay. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius risings, this energy right here for Sagittarius, I need y'all to know, of all of the signs, the next month is the most sexual in nature for you guys. You have Jupiter in your 5th house. You have the sun in your 5th house. You have Mercury in your 5th house. And they're all going to go, they've all have recently had squares to Mars that's going to go in your 8th house. Now, for some Sagittarius risings, there are going to be flings and romantic relations that we are going to mistake for love. Well, I say we. That people will mistake for love. That isn't love. that it's a fling, it's an affair, it's something along these lines. And that confusion can very much follow certain developments that occurred while Mars was going through Gemini, while Mars was going through your seventh house of relationships. Mars was disrupting this area. Now, if you've been in alignment and you are still in a solid relationship and then Mars is going to go into Cancer, have fun in the bedroom. Enjoy it. Enjoy your time. Do whatever is necessary. Not a bad way to be. This is a new moon in your fifth house of love, romance, joy, happiness, childhood, children, love, sex, but not the crazy BDSM kind, but more the lovey-dovey kind, the romantic kind. There is a lot of happiness in this energy. With Jupiter, your chart ruler, going through Aries lately, you have had the ability to build your own luck and build your own abundance. And this area that you have put more of your energy into in building has the ability to turn out really, really well once Jupiter goes into Taurus. That's not going to happen until May. That's not going to happen until eclipse season. So right now it is taking the initiative in certain areas of life and building your own luck. You're taking those first steps in building it. You're going to start to see how that's going to turn around. Other people are going to see it, how it's turning around for you, and the happiness that you're having. You'll start to see the blessings as we continue through this lunar month. Understand that this is going to be an easy energy to be very, very frivolous. Do not do the overspending while Mars is going through your eighth house. But also understand that you can find the disruption in those areas too. You can find the disruptions in your tax statement. You can find the disruption in your bank statement, in your credit card statement. You can start to go through some things and you can find where somebody else has been having a little too much fun, and be aware of that. The eighth house can be a house of secrets. And what is an affair? It is a secret. So be realistic about part of that. There will be some secretiveness that plays out in part of the next lunar month and through eclipse season, but understand that it's not necessarily your secret. It's more likely going to be somebody else's. Just be mindful of the frivolousness. Be mindful of your actions. Understand that if you stay in alignment, things will fall into place for you very, very naturally, because you are ruled by Jupiter. You are ruled by the planet that rules luck and prosperity and abundance. The more in alignment you are, the more beneficial things can be for you. The way that you communicate certain things is going to shift, and the way that you project certain messages will shift once Pluto starts to do its dips into Aquarius. Your way of thinking and your way of communicating is going to transform. That is going to be a slow moving energy, but the message that needs to follow will be very, very clear. Understand that things are moving exactly how they're supposed to be. And as fast as the next few weeks will feel, it still won't necessarily be as fast as you want them to be. There's a reason your planet, your planetary ruler, takes a year to go through a sign, because good things take time. Okay. For Capricorn and for Capricorn risings, I love you guys. I love you. I love you. I love you. This is a new moon in your fourth house of home life, and family. Last year, or in the last few years, many Capricorn risings had to take steps back from people. They had to withdraw. They had to separate. They had to sever ties. And a part of that tie severing feeds from that PTSD that has been there since 2018, 2019. Since the Pluto-Saturn conjunction with the South Node in your first house. That was a whole lot of energy that happened quite a few years ago. And some of you, while Pluto has still been in your first, has still been fearful of moving forward because of that energy. And if you listen to the Saturn video that I did a few weeks ago, I said it is time to start talking through your PTSD. That Saturn going into your third house was telling you that it was time to start communicating. And it was time to start connecting with somebody. Find your yogi. Find your person that you're willing to have those spiritual conversations with. I know you guys aren't going to do the group therapy and the group stuff. You don't take it very seriously. I don't blame you. But understand that that is still part of the energy. Now, when Pluto leaves your first house and it goes into your second house of money and assets and values, it will be the first inklings of transformation in this area, of you either transforming the way that you see money, transforming the way that you understand certain values or the certain assets in your life, or it's going to trigger fears that you still don't have something there. It will be less about fear. For many of you, it'll be less about fear and more about the recent work you have done. The Mars retrograde in Gemini was meant to bring certain things to the surface. That is a house that has to do with health. You have had to do a shift in your health, in your routine, and in the way that you care for yourself. Mars rules your fourth house of home life, and family, where this new moon is. Shortly after this new moon, Mars is going to go into that seventh house of others. It is time for certain people to see the work that you have done. Now, whether that has been a physical transformation and changing something in your body, or if it's been the mental transformation and allowing certain things to process and allowing yourself to finally heal, the thing that I need to tell more Capricorn risings is it is time to grow, and it is time to see this new area. It is time to allow for this new connection in family, this new connection in regards to motherhood. And it is time to allow for that fourth house energy to transform. What do I mean by that? It is time for maidens to become mothers. It is time for mothers to become crones. You've had the eclipse axis going through your 11th and 5th house. It is time for friends. In some cases, friends will become lovers. It is time for lovers to become family. It is time for friends to become family. Understand that so much of these next few months through the rest of this year, but really these next few months, is shifting things back into alignment and shifting those connections back into place for you. There are certain people that you withdrew from that they need to start coming back, or they're going to start coming back. And that's going to really start to flow through over the next few months. The ones that are meant for you, the ones that still support you, even whenever you withdraw from everybody, are still your people. Taking the step back is not a bad thing. Taking a step away from everybody is not a bad thing. But understand that now it is time to take a different step forward. Understand that a new voice needs to come through in the way that you see families, the way that you see home life, the way that you see children, the way that you see these areas of life are meant to shift. Many of you are the drivers in the shifting, and you're forcing other people to realize that they haven't lived up to an expectation, or you are the drivers of the shifting because you have made so many changes and now you see a healthier way to do things moving forward. And where you're going to see even more change later is teaching others how to do this as well. How to be in alignment, how to be who you are, and how to grow in this area. Who, where, what feels like home to you? In a lot of ways, Capricorn risings, it's time to go home. Okay. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, taking the time to do new things, to do things that you didn't expect to do, to heal, to visit the past and allow so much to transform, to allow for the adjustments in your home life, to allow for, the growth and the changes in your children. So much of these little areas of life have been very, very necessary. And now we're going to start to see the benefit and how it affects our mindset. This is a new moon in your third house. The third house is about communication. It's about short distance travel. It's about the way that you talk to certain people. Those certain people usually have to do with in general surroundings. The way that you connect with your siblings can be very important, but there is an adjustment in the message. This new moon for Aquarius is rising is great for rebranding. I have so many realtor people and been in real estate for so long. I'm changing brokerages. That then requires new website, new business cards, all the work that goes into that. That's going to be a big thing. I'm changing industries, and we're going to have to go through the communication and the rebranding and the mindset change in this area. As Pluto comes into your first and you really start to fall into your groove, you're going to see just what that's doing for you as a person, how you're transforming as a person, and how you are getting gains. Mars is going to go into your sixth house of health and service and routine. And for some, you're going to have tests in your health. Watch your step. I'm going to say that one. Physical health can be very important right now. But I feel like what we're going to be doing is doing more pivotal adjustments in our routine so that way we can have this shift and adjustment in career, in our public image, and in our desires. We're going to be taking on new types of experiences and new education. And the message you send out is going to start to be very, very important for Aquarius risings. Pluto going into your first, that's going to be over 22 years of that being there. But not only are you going to have this new moon going through this area, but after the node change signs, we're going to have the eclipse axis going through this area. So the message, the way that you communicate, the way that you attach to certain people, it is changing. Whether you want it to change or not, it is changing. And the way that these levels of communication and the logistics involved and all the transactions that get tied to this area are shifting and are changing. And the way that you put more emphasis in building your routine and building your way to care for people and building all that you have been working on has the ability to be pivotal and transformational in ways that you haven't fully taken in. But the adjustments are coming. The adjustments are there. Whether they're your choice of the adjustments or someone else's, I know. Most Aquarius risings, you don't work for other people for very long. And if you do work for other people, it's because you're getting a whole lot of independence. This is you taking new steps in a new direction and allowing for the career changes that you have desired to finally kind of get built into place. You've got a lot of things coming. I need you to be patient, though. Aquarius risings are better with patience than most other signs. I will say that much. You're fixed air. But I'm going to remind you guys, Rome was not built in a day. And the message that you're portraying and the communication that you're doing, it needs to be a part of that routine. If you're saying your daily mantras, if you're doing your daily meditation, you need whatever you need to be successful needs to truly be a part of your daily routine. If that's a part of your workout, if that's a part of you're making your shake, whatever you guys do in that regard, your daily meditation, whatever that is, that needs to be daily. Build the routine, build the network, build what you need to succeed. Okay. And last but not least, Pisces risings. Pisces risings. The way that you make money, the way that you spend money, the way that you see money, the way that you connect with money, it's changing. It has no choice but to change. Certain events, certain situations, certain actions tied to other people that have come through recently have really made you rethink some things. And it has made you realize that you have to gain certain control. Now, Saturn is now in your first house. And the thing is Saturn is going to tell you that you have the ability to be in control. Not every Pisces risings, you don't always like responsibility. It's not that you won't be responsible. This is not the same thing. Being a responsible person and taking on massive amounts of responsibility, two very separate things. I'm not talking about being a mom or a dad and these small levels of responsibility or a pet parent or something like that. I'm talking about a lot of Pisces risings don't necessarily want to be the ones sitting in front of God and creation. They don't. They want certain things to happen and then kind of go with the flow. They're good cheerleaders. They're good about making things peacefully transition in a lot of ways, but very rarely are they the ones in control. You have no choice right now. Saturn is in your first. Saturn is telling you, you have to level up as an individual. You have to level up with where you're going in life. If you want your future to go this certain way, if you want certain financial things to go your way, then you have no choice but to make changes. This is a new moon in your second house, in your money. The eclipse axis has been going through your third and your ninth, which is travel, which is an adjustment. The Mars retrograde was in your fourth house of home life, and family. There are adjustments for Pisces risings. And whether that is something as small as we just need to renovate the house or something as big as I'm going to relocate, that's kind of hit and miss. Some have relocated, some have just went through travel. Some have taken things from their travels and brought them home and made those new experiences a part of the home life. Some have not had the ability to move at all, and they have been stuck at home. Mars in the fourth house has put them home and made them stay there. There has been shifts now. There has been disruption. And you can't tell me there wasn't disruption, because there was that whole thing with the squares to Mars, Neptune, the Sun, and Mercury. It has made you rethink the trajectory, rethink the direction, and is going to make you make certain steps, take certain steps, make certain decisions for yourself, not to follow the crowd, not to follow everybody else, for yourself. If you listen to the energy and you fall into place and you follow where Saturn is leading you, then this area will lead to a lot of financial alignment for you in the weeks to follow, weeks to months to follow. If you try to resist, then you will start to feel the weight of Saturn. Saturn in your first house has external and internal adjustments. The external adjustment is making you level up as a person. It's making you strengthen yourself. If it's internal adjustments, it is the weight of the world falling onto your head and onto your shoulders and literally making you feel like you're the tee for a golf ball getting smushed into the ground for the ball to go on top of you. Not fun. The thing about those tees is they usually get hit. If you don't want the weight of the world or the weight of Saturn pushing you down, then understand the synchronicity, put more emphasis in listening to the energy, and if opportunities are available, if opportunities are there, then adjust accordingly. If you need to go spend more time with a family member, then adjust accordingly. If the recent issues have been based off of a family member, adjust accordingly. Everybody can be kind of different with how Mars in the fourth house, how that retrograde would have went. But the thing is, Mars is going to leave and it's going to go into that fifth house of love, luck, joy, and children. And the choices that you need to make right now need to be what's best for you as an individual. And if you're a parent, then it's what's best for you and your children. Especially if you are the parent that's over the children. So listen to Saturn. Take my advice on this one. I have Saturn in the first, and I had my Saturn return going over my natal Pluto and everything else. Trust me on this one. If you listen to Saturn, having Saturn go through your first, it can go easier, but you have to listen to Saturn. Okay. Stop sharing that. So there's a lot of energy, a lot of adjustments. The racehorse energy, like I was describing before, that's where we're at. The buzzer is sounding. The gates are starting to open this week, but we're not full on in the race. There is still some slowness involved. It's going to take a few days before the pace really starts to pick up. For some people, they've already felt the pace. For others, we need a few days. As we get deeper into next week, so the week that starts like March 27th, the pace is going to be a lot faster. The adjustments are going to be a lot faster. The necessary changes are going to be a lot more evident. We have a lot of change starting, a lot of initiative action building right here. Take the steps, understand where we're going, take the energy and run with it. It affects everybody very differently based off of their chart, based off their own karma, their own mentality. It all kind of comes down to how we decide to process things. We can either take every single negative thing to happen and we can make ourselves victims, or we can take that energy, learn the lessons, and now start to succeed. And now take that and running with it in a whole new way. It's all a matter of choice. These energies, these transits, and where we're at right now, they don't have to be negative. And in a lot of ways, they're actually not negative. However, people can find a way to make them that way. And that's why I try to play devil's advocate. Like, this can be really good. And in a lot of ways, for a lot of people, it will be really good. But in a lot of other ways, it's going to be heavy and it's going to be frustrating. And it's going to be something that is going to shake us out of our rut and make us make changes, because God forbid we make changes. It's time to get out of our rut. It's time to take active, knowing steps to get out of the rut, to get out of the situation and start making certain changes moving forward. All right. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for those that have subscribed. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Just thank you in so many different ways. Thank you very much. So I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.